Do not drink these, okay? Somebody left that in my car, and my ADHD intrusive thoughts were just like, drink it. And I shouldn't have drank it. My heart is racing. Triggers. Yes, that's what we're gonna talk about today. Okay, so I see y'all, I talk to parents in my community all the time, and y'all not happy with this. Y'all are not enjoying parenting. And I'm Destini Ann. I'm a certified parenting coach, and it's my goal to help you to love and enjoy the role of parenting. I want you to wake up excited about interacting with your kids, and I want you to go in your day feeling grounded and confident. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. Just 4 questions that you can ask yourself, 4 questions that I asked myself so that I could be less reactive and less triggered with my kids. But first, I want to share this quote with you from Jai Institute for Parenting, and it says this: when we witness our child display a quality or behavior that activates the fear center in our brain, we are not able to see clearly and quickly begin the fear spiral. And that really struck a chord with me, because it speaks to how when children exhibit certain behaviors or qualities that trigger our fear center, our ability to perceive clearly becomes clouded, which means what? We can't respond effectively. We can't respond in alignment with our values. We're not creative. We're not collaborative. Like, imagine your child does something that pushes your buttons. Maybe it's back talk or they don't listen. Suddenly, like, a switch goes off inside of you, and you are instinctively, like, without fully even understanding why, activated. And it seems like you went from 0 to 100, but what's really going on is your amygdala is activated. That is the emotional memory center of your brain. And it's lighting up, okay? It's a circus. You got the past experiences ride going on over here. You got the past hurts merry-go-round over here. You got clowns being clowns in your emotional memories. And you're starting to view your child's actions and behaviors through the lens of your trauma. Like, I like to call that the negative filter. And before you know it, you are caught up in fight or flight. So for example, when my daughter used to throw a little bit of attitude my way, I used to feel like this strong urge to, like, match her energy. Or on the other hand, in moments where she was being vulnerable or feeling insecure, my instinct was to retreat and to save myself and her from the discomfort. And I do everything to fix her feelings instead of moving through them with her in an organic and healthy way. But in both scenarios, there's this undeniable sense of unease and, like, a stirring up of emotions deep within me from my own childhood experiences. And so if you can relate, I want you to take a minute and let this be like an opportunity for not fixing, but being honest with yourself and being self-aware, because self-awareness is huge. And I found that asking myself the right questions outside of trigger moments is the best way to give myself the opportunity to manage my emotions in trigger moments. It's like the better picture you can paint of that triggered version of yourself, the more you know about that version of yourself, the better you can spot that version of you when it's about to come out and be like, hey, all right, hold up, little mama. You ain't got to do all that lecturing, all that shaming. We don't have to do that today, okay? I got it. And so I want you to take a minute to consider these 4 questions. I think that journaling them is a really effective way to reflect. But if you can't write them down right now, I think you'll still get a lot out of just thinking over your answers in your head. So, number 1, what are the specific behaviors or qualities in your child that tend to trigger your fear response? Is it back talk? Is it lying? Making you late? Shyness? Loudness? People pleasing? Mistakes? Whining? What makes you go into survival responses in your parenting? Now I want you to ask yourself, how does that fear manifest itself in your thoughts and your actions? Maybe when your kid talks back, you instantly think like, ooh, they so disrespectful, they manipulative. And as a result, you yell, you take their phone, you pop them, whatever. Paint the picture clearly and be honest. It may be even better for you to ask your kid, okay? They probably have the best view of your actions because they're on the receiving end. They see your body language, your nonverbal communication, the way that your words aren't matching your tone. Like, they know. So yeah. How is that fear showing up in your reaction? Number 3 is, what past experiences or unresolved emotions might be contributing to these reactions? If you grew up in an environment where criticism was the norm, you might find yourself becoming defensive or harsh when a child challenges you. Or if you were constantly seeking validation from others, you might struggle with setting boundaries and enforcing limits with your child. Our past experiences absolutely impact our trigger reactions, and understanding that is important because the fault of your triggers is probably not yours. Like, it's definitely not your child's, and being able to understand that your triggers are your body's survival response right? It's a really compassionate way to approach parenting. And over here, we don't want to just love our kids, okay? We want to love ourselves, even the hurting, broken, traumatized parts. And so giving yourself the opportunity to say, like, this ain't even my stuff that I'm carrying, okay? It's not your fault if maybe you saw inappropriate displays of anger, and so now anger is hard for you. Like, I want to release the little person inside of you. That is not your fault. And so take a minute to reflect on past experiences or unresolved emotions that might be contributing to how you are reacting to your kids. And then lastly, what does that trigger part need to hear, or what does that trigger part need to experience? Now, I know that I said your triggers aren't your fault, and that doesn't mean that they're not your responsibility to manage, okay? And so you get to swoop in like the loving caregiver that you needed and say, okay, when my child is saying mean things to her sister, it's bringing up an old sibling wound, and that part of me really needed to hear that doesn't define you, or you don't deserve that, okay? That part of me maybe really needed to have a certain level of support. How can I support myself right now in this moment so that I don't place that burden on my child? That reflection is important, because if I don't address that sibling wound, I'm giving you an example, but if I don't address that sibling wound, the hurting part of me is going to respond to the sibling and not to my child. And I'm going to be expecting my child to heal the spaces and the places that they did not create. And that's not their responsibility, right? So when you calm the story, you can respond. And when you're not caught up in fear, you don't need to yell or force respect. You also don't need to back down and run. You can command respect through creative problem solving, through emotionally intelligent communication, through positive discipline strategies, because you're able to put down the negative filter through which you are seeing your child's behavior. And that awareness is always the first step to breaking free from these patterns. You shine a light on your triggers, you start to examine them with curiosity and compassion, and you start to untangle the web of your emotions that are holding you back. And you could do this through mindfulness practices, journaling, asking these kind of introspective questions, and what I think is the most effective way, which is through support. If these things feel too challenging or too tender, getting the support of a professional, a therapist, can help you make connections and start seeing yourself and your child without that negative filter. I'm grateful we could share this introspective moment together. Know that you are not alone in this journey. If you're looking for some more parenting support, I have a parenting community that is warm, impactful, all the things, and I'll make sure I put it in the description box. Remember that your needs, your feelings, and your desires matter, even as a parent. So be gentle with yourself, and I will see you next time.